Great. Thank you all for coming to tonight's event. I'm going to be up here briefly just thanking our sponsor. I'm Peter Dolch. I'm on the executive board of the MIT Club of New York, and we are a club without a home. So we are only as good as the sponsors that support our events. And Fox Rothschild has been an amazing sponsor for our club. They are the founding sponsor of our flagship New York City event, the MIT Females Founder Pitch Competition, which we had the first event last year, and we're having a next event in September. I would like to thank all the staff of Fox Rothschild, Alex and Erin, who helped put on this event, as well as the amazing IT and support staff that are here today. And especially I'd like to thank Brad Gould, who's been our champion here at our event and is a classmate of mine from MIT. And I'll turn it over to you, Brad.
All right, thank you, Peter. Well, first, a warm welcome to all the members of the MIT Sloan Club of New York. Thank you for being here. And a special thank you to Peter Dolch and Jack Gill, who are right here. So as Peter indicated, we do try to support events from the club. We are a very proud sponsor of the Female Founders Competition. We'll do it again in June, and hopefully we'll see a lot of you there. I'll give you just a brief intro to Fox, and I'll hand you over. A lot of you know us. We are a national firm with over 1,000 lawyers and very diverse practices. We've got over 70 different practice areas and able to handle anything that corporations or small businesses need. And we pay attention, we give the attention to the clients as a small boutique as well. So we're very focused on business needs and have a very active emerging companies group. A lot of our lawyers are in attendance tonight. So in the cocktail reception afterwards, please feel free to ask them questions. But anyway, I'm especially happy to welcome our guest speaker tonight, Dr. Sharon Melnick, Ph.D. She's a premier expert on being in your power as a leader and an authority on women's leadership, reliance, and power. She's been selected as a Marshall Goldsmith Top 100 Executive Coach and Leaders on Power List 2023 Top 200 Voices in Leadership. So thank you for being here, and I'll pass it off to you.
When I was early in my career, I attended a rock concert. It was sponsored by Human Rights Campaign. It was in DC, and it was one of those like multi-artists, like everyone that you love, right? And as I'm arriving into the stadium is still starting to fill, and there's a cluster of people over to my left. And I look over, and there's one person who I recognized, and it was Tipper Gore. She was the wife of the then Vice President Al Gore, right? And she was a champion of women's empowerment. So without overthinking it, I go right over to like, hi, I'm Dr. Sharon Melnick, and I do research at Harvard Medical School, and I help people from difficult circumstances in their life to be confident and resilient, to make the contribution that they're here to make, and like, her interest is piqued. So we have a chance to talk, and we get into it, and we're having like, kind of a girlfriend moment, a little estrogen fest. And at a certain point in the conversation, she turns to her chief of staff and she says, Melissa, would you get Dr. Melnick's contact information? We want to bring her down to the White House to share the policy implications of her research. So we exchange contact, and I go home, I type up a little something, I send it off, kind of forget about it. Several weeks later, I'm tying up my sneaks to go for a run, and the phone rings. Melissa. And we start to get into it, and she starts to tell me about all the initiatives that Tipper is doing and how she's helping millions of families throughout the country. And as she's talking, my heart's kind of like beating outside of my chest. Like, this is, really cool. And I'm, just thinking about like all of that, like hard work and getting educated and all the time that I've put in. And this is kind of like my dream, in my life to like help all these people. And so it's like really, really exciting. And a certain point in the conversation, she pops the question and she says, will you come down to the White House to share the policy implications of your research? So I pictured myself around that table at the White House. And what do you think I said? Well, of course I said no. Well, I didn't exactly say no, but I said, well, I'm still trying to figure out what the research says. Let me get back to you. For students of history, I did not have another opportunity. Now, why did I decline an invite to the White House? Because I pictured myself around that table. And I thought that they were going to evaluate me and judge me for not knowing enough, for not being smart enough. So I didn't give them that opportunity to do so. I prioritized what I thought others' judgments and evaluation would be about me over the contribution that I could have made for millions of people. In other words, I gave away my power. Anybody had a White House moment or having one now? Yeah. And okay, so this idea of power, right? You know, it's like when you're in your power, you have a sense of agency, like you have a sense of control over the challenges that you have in your life. You feel like you have options, that there's something that you can do about it. When you're in your power, you have a sense of sovereignty. Like you decide what you believe about yourself and how you view yourself. You own your value. You know your yes, and you know your no. When you are in your power, you have a sense of efficacy. Like you believe and have experiences that, like, when you speak up, you're heard, it lands, you can effect change. That's what it means to be in your power. And when you're not in your power, some of us might know what this is like as well. When you're kicked out of your power, you get into like a mental swirl, right? You feel like emotionally hijacked. And then you find that you're blaming others, maybe you're resentful, you're spinning whether to stay or go in the work situation or in the relationship. When you're out of your power, the way that you try to make the situation better usually makes it worse. When you're not in your power, you can start to show up as a diminished version of yourself. And when you're not in your power, what happens is that you start to go through your day like a thermometer. And when you're the thermometer, it's like other people act and you react. When you're the thermometer, it feels like you're more the casualty than the creator of your experience. And what you want to be is you want to shift from being the thermometer to being the thermostat. When you're the thermostat, you set the tone. You establish the view of yourself. You see yourself in a certain way so others can see you in that way. When you're the thermostat, you have an idea of how things could be better in this challenging situation. And then you approach the situation like as the steward. You hold space for new conversations. You bring others along into your vision. When you're the thermostat, you get the outcome you want, but you make it better not only for yourself, but for everyone around you. Who wants to be the thermostat? Okay, so let's just kind of get into it for a moment and kind of have this start applying to you. Okay, so let's think about what are situations where you might be the thermometer. So you're the thermometer when you feel overlooked in a situation. Let's say that you're talented, but you feel overlooked. You don't feel valued for your contributions. You're the thermometer when you're going into a negotiation, whatever it is, salary or role or whatever it is, and like you already feel half deflated because you already expect like they're not going to see you and give you what you want, right? You're the thermometer let's see, I was coaching a guy who was the president of a company. And he brought in someone who was younger than him to head up strategy and kind of help with this transformation that he wanted to do. And this younger guy started to really be a bright, shining star. And he started to get kind of threatened. He was the thermometer. He was tracking, you know what I mean, like how other people were reacting to this young guy. And he started to doubt himself, right? You're the thermometer when you're the founder and you're a leader of any team and there's someone on your team that you just can't get them to cooperate with you, right? And every email or everything that they hand into you, you're like, you know what I mean? Like you're just aggravated and you've said it and you don't know what to do to kind of help them to cooperate. Anyone want to give an example of like where you're the thermometer? Anyone in the thermometer in here? Okay, why don't you turn to the person next to you and tell them, here's where I'm a thermometer and I want to become a thermostat. Go.
I will say
Go sit next to someone. Make sure to switch partners. Switch to the next person. Switch to the next person. Okay, let's start to come on back. Okay, let's start to come on back. Okay. So, so many examples where you might be the thermometer. You feel like the thermometer when you feel like you have the right vision for your company or for your team, and you just can't feel heard by your management peers or by your team members, right? You're the thermometer now a little bit actually in the law practice. It's a little bit reactive by nature, like you're always kind of on, reacting to your clients, but maybe particularly when you don't have clarity in your client contracts and you feel like you're just needing to be at their beck and call day and night, and there isn't like, you don't have boundaries and it just feels overwhelming. You feel like the thermometer when what's coming at you is just, totally overwhelming, and you feel like if you don't do all of it, then you're going to feel guilty. I mean, there's just so many ways that you might feel the thermometer in your work life. It could be in your personal life, right? You might have like a really difficult person or a person who's all about them in your personal life. You might be in a situation where maybe your parents have really different values from you, and you're constantly feeling criticized or feeling like it's a battle and you don't feel understood. It could be anywhere in your life that you feel the thermometer. And what you want to do is you want to shift from being the thermometer to being the thermostat. So the thermostat, if you think about like an actual thermostat, is that it takes all of the elements in the situation into consideration. So it's like the airflow and the motion of the people in the room and the humidity, like it takes all these things into consideration and it harmonizes them into like the temperature that's been desired, that's been set. And like you have an opportunity to be that person in your life. You can be a force for good as the thermostat. There's so much power in being the thermostat. Like just for example, so I coached a woman who worked at a big government contractor company, and she was totally overwhelmed. In the day one, when we first started talking, essentially the first thing that came out of her mouth is like, I just can't take it anymore. Like she was totally out of here, ready to leave. And her manager was contacting her from 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. Everything that her peers weren't doing were rolling onto her. Like things weren't working, the people in their company weren't getting paid, and her function was responsible for it. And she just felt overwhelmed and underpaid and undervalued. And you can all kind of extrapolate to your own situations, right? So she felt like the thermometer. She felt helpless. She felt like she had no power in the situation. So, and because of that, she was kind of taking it personally. And the only recourse that she felt that she had was to like go to her manager and be like, I can't do this anymore, or maybe just to leave, right? And so we started to talk about how she could shift from being the thermometer to being the thermostat. So as the thermostat, she started to really understand, like, what was the underlying problem? Why did it keep happening in this way? And she kind of came up with an understanding, and then she did like a stakeholder campaign, like all the people who were party to this situation, and she kind of got them in the room and she helped them to understand it the way that she saw it, and she influenced them along to her vision. She started to get buy-in. She then kind of restructured actually the whole group. She really kind of took herself from seeing herself as like being done to being someone who could be a conduit of change. And there was so much power in that. And so not only did she sort of like transform the whole situation in a matter of weeks, and when she did that, she was recognized for this because of how much value that she was bringing. So actually, she got a $95,000 retention bonus. She was promoted actually twice within the last 8 months. And she was 5 layers down from the C-suite when we first started talking, and she's like on track to be CIO like within the next like few months. I mean, it's just, you have so much more power than you think. It was just why I just wanted to share that story, is that she could have stayed in that situation and just continued to like complain and feel like powerless and like overwhelmed and like she had no power, but you always have so much more power than you think. And I want you to start seeing yourselves as a force for good. And, the way, when you're not in your power, the way that you try to make the situation better often makes it worse. So she, that was her first instinct, was to go to her manager and just be like, I can't do this anymore, and you need to stop like contacting me, and, trying to set boundaries. And that just perpetuated it. And he was helpless too, right? But the moment that you step into your power, you shift the power dynamic. And you start to shift the energy in the situation, and you can become a force for good. Now, I want to talk about this idea of power and redefining power, because a lot of us, how do we think about power? We think about it as like forceful and selfish, and the person is like narcissistic, and like we kind of often, have a negative association, like power is abusive and all of that. And I'm sure many of us have been subject to this, and this is how we've thought about power till this point. But that's only the case when someone is in power, but not in their power. So the way that we want to think about this is that you want to be, oops. Okay, having a tech issue. There we go. Oh, there's my example of Keisha. So this is our opportunity, is that you want to be in your power, because then you can use your power for the good of all, right? And the way that you can do this, the way that Keisha did this, is that right now when you're the thermometer, it's like the way that you're trying to have an impact is determined by the way that you're reacting to other people's limitations. And what you want to do is that you want to raise yourself and others to be limitless. And that's when you can use your power for good. So this idea of power that we're trying to redefine, I actually want to take us back to the origin. It comes from the Latin root posse, which means to be able. So being in your power means to be able. It means to be able to stay good in you, no matter what's going on around you, so that the way that you respond not only helps you get the outcome that you want, but is for the good of all. So who wants to be in their power? Got it. So what I want to do is I want to just kind of get you started, right? And I want to go over 5 ways that you can get started being in your power, help you to reflect the way that you might be kind of showing up now, that might be keeping you not in your power. Who's in? Yes? Any questions so far? All right, let's do this. So the first thing that I want to talk about is, are you leaking your power? Is all of that good life force and all of those good ideas and all of your good intention your power? Are you leaking your power? Here's how you'll know. So in any situation, so I want you to think of your challenging situations, especially where you're a thermometer, right? And in these situations, what I want you to do going forward is I want you to immediately ask the question, where's my power? Where's my power? And the way that you determine this is by immediately calling to mind this diagram, which requires of you to sort out what are the aspects of the situation that are within your control. And I call this your 50%. And distinguish these from the aspects of the situation that are below the line, the other 50%. Here's what I want you to really get, is that any moment that you put your attention on matters that are below the line, you leak your power. Who's feeling drained? Who's feeling exhausted? That's because you're leaking your power. And what I really want you to get is that when you're out of your power, it's the fast track to burnout. That we think of burnout as coming from too much to do and too much complexity. Yes, it's true. It overtaxes our circuits, how much we have going on these days. But burnout and a lot of the workplace issues that we face don't come from too much to do, but rather from too little power. Which means that we're focusing below the line on what we can't control. So the very first thing that you want to do is you want to start to sort out in any challenging situation, what are the aspects that you can control in your 50%? Distinguish those from the aspects of the situation you can't control beneath the line in the other 50%. And I know what you're thinking because you're always like 10 steps ahead of me. I totally get it. And you're like, yeah, doc, that sounds like really theoretically easy, but like, you don't know my situation. Like in my situation, yeah. Okay, like in my situation, I can control this much. I can't even control 10% of the situation. I get it. Keep with me here. But what I'm saying is that in every situation, there's what you bring to it. Yes? And so what you bring to it is your 50%. And what we're going to start to do is we're going to start to move things above the line. And I want you to see that actually there's so much more within your control. There's so much more power you have than you think you have. You have so much more power than you think. So the way I want you to think about it is that actually, since there's so many things that you can control, I don't want to overwhelm you. I get it. You're already here. I get it. So I've made it very simple for you. I've boiled it down into just one simple rule, and I call this the 50% rule. And the 50% rule is be impeccable for your 50%. It means take 100% responsibility for everything that goes on within your 50%. It means put your time and energy and attention into being really effective at what you can control in your 50% before you ever allow yourself to blame or be resentful or frustrated with the other people or circumstances below the line. Now, for the control freaks and perfectionists in the crowd, I got you. It takes one to know one. Okay, let me speak to you just for a moment. I am not encouraging you to be a control freak or a perfectionist when it's not appropriate to be so, right? Because that would be trying to control 100% of the pie. And that's setting yourself up to be kicked out of your power. I'm saying be really effective in your 50%. That's what Keisha did. She thought she had no control or power in the situation, but look, she had so much power in the situation, right? So I want to get you used to thinking this way. So be impeccable for your 50%. I want you to kind of make this your mantra. I want this to be the first resort. Any situation you get into and you're starting to get reactive, you feel like you can't control. Like the reason that we feel stressed, the reason that we start to react is because we feel like we have no control in the situation. Okay. And, you know, it's the way that we're wired as humans. Like, here's the thing. It's like, we're so set up as humans to be out of our power. It's like, literally, we're hardwired from an evolutionary standpoint to like focus on things that we can't control, to like track the threats in the environment, to track the people who are treating us in a way that like, we're not getting what it is that we need. So we're so set up, but you got to overcome your factory settings, because otherwise you're just going to go through your life like micro tracking what other people are doing that is making you feel out of your control. And that's going to keep you being the thermometer. So here's where you can shift and become the thermostat and actually provide that sense of control, provide that tone, bring others along with you. Okay. So who is like, yeah, this is resonating with me. Like, I want to live my life this way. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, then what we're going to do is we're going to take the pledge. Yeah. Are you in? Anyone want to like take an issue with this? You got a question? Like, bring it on. Like, think of a role model you have. Is that person impeccable for their 50%? Yes. Yeah? Okay, got it. So we're going to take the pledge. Raise your right hand. Okay, very good. So I, and then state your name. Very good. Commit to being impeccable for my 50%. Very good. So meaning in the situation, the first question that I'm going to ask myself, where's my power? What's in my control? And you're going to sort out that diagram, and then you start to focus on what it is that you can control. And you're going to start to have insights about that you might not have been seeing before when you were completely consumed blaming the other person and the circumstances. Got it? Be impeccable for your 50%. That's going to start to shift the way that you interact in the situation. Okay, so we're going to not leak our power. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to not give our power away. Okay, now, I'll tell you a few things I learned in that research at Harvard Medical School. Okay, give me like 2 minutes here. I'm going to be like a little professorial, right? We're all trying to get to this lower right-hand corner, right? Where in this lower right-hand corner, what's pictured there is like your come from is confident. You feel worthy. You feel valuable. You feel like I have something to add here that's really knowledgeable. I feel helpful. I feel secure in who I am. Like, how many of us are like, yeah, when then that's my come from, like I bring my best, you know, I'm in my power. Okay. Now, so we're all trying to come from there. In the left-hand lower corner, what's pictured there is how you might be evaluating yourself or talking to yourself in any given moment, right? So to the extent that you have a doubt about yourself, or you fear what other people think about you, or worry what people think about you, or criticize and judge yourself, or compare, or any of the things that we do, all of us. So I'm just like summarizing that as self-doubt. Okay. So when you have a doubt about yourself, now here's the thing, like even if like 95% of you is like, yeah, like I'm really confident, I know what I'm doing, I feel proud of myself, I'm like in my power, but like even when you have that like 5%, like that's where you're going to go to, right? In the heat of the moment. So what happens when this is your come from? By definition, you're not in the lower right-hand corner, so you're not rock solid in your confidence. What do? Is that we're going to put our time and energy and attention into acting toward other people. So up the left-hand side of the triangle, seen that? Okay, that's not working. So up the left-hand side of the triangle, you're going to act toward other people in order to get other people to act toward you down the right-hand side of the triangle so that you can have that like feeling of confidence and security in you. Right? Now, there's lots of examples of this. There's the ways that we try to seek approval from other people. We try to, we over prepare and we make sure that we know every answer. We say yes when really it would be more right for our lives or our work to say no. We seek reassurance for decisions that we're actually qualified to make. I mean, there's lots of ways that we seek approval and try to get that validation. And we work really, really hard, maybe too hard at times, in order to get like a boss or someone else to say like, you're really good at what you do, so that you can say to yourself like, my boss said I'm really good at what I do, I must be really good at what I do, until the very next moment when you doubt yourself and then you need to get it from someone else, again, that compliment. We might do just the opposite. We might not try to get approval from other people. We might try to prevent disapproval. You might say no to the White House when they invite you. You might not speak up, when you have valuable ideas, because you're worried about what other people are going to think about you and how they're going to evaluate you. You might pressure yourself to be perfect and kind of grind on the details and not be strategic in ways that you should be, because you feel like you're not good enough. And frankly, when you think you're not good enough, nobody else around you is good enough to make you feel good enough in yourself. Anybody? Okay, so these are ways, and I call this kind of indirect. Can you see why I call these ways indirect? It's like, where is your time and your energy and attention going to? To monitoring how other people think about you. Is it going into having rock solid confidence in yourself? No. Got it? And the energy of these indirect ways is very mental. It's very exhausting. It's very like calculating, like, what are they going to think about these? Should I do this? And should I push myself more? And anybody, you get what I mean by that? And so we want to shift out of indirect. And we don't want to try to control other people's perceptions. Really, it's your small game. The way to not give away your power, the fastest way for you to become confident, instead, is to go direct. Say it along with me now. Go direct. Go direct. So when you go direct, you source your confidence from within. You source your confidence from the rewards of your contribution, from the rewards of meaningful connections, or from your source, whatever your source is. Now, if we were to make an analogy to your personal life, when you go indirect, it's like you're trying to get love. When you go direct, be love. When you're going indirect, you're trying to get love. When you're going direct, feel lovable. Because that you can control. You have access to that 24/7, 365. Yes? So when you go indirect, you focus on your momentary and personalized concerns. What are they going to think about me? Who am I? You know what I mean? And leaders go direct. Leaders go direct. Leaders are thinking about, what's the legacy I'm here to leave? How can I be the thermostat and bring everyone along in my vision? What's in the best outcome of all? Who do I want to be in this situation? How can I show up as her or him? That's what it looks like to go direct. And this is for those of you who are feeling overwhelmed, being in your power and not giving your power away is going to help you recoup so much time and energy. Like, how many of you can like just take a moment and kind of calculate how much time and energy are you giving away, as like, are you spending giving away your power? You don't have to shout it out, but like a little note to self here. Yeah, this is the fastest way to get your energy back, is to go direct. And one of the best ways that you could do this is really decide, like, what's the best thing or really the only thing that you can control, like, is who you show up as, right? So one of the best things that you could do is decide, like, what's the outcome you want in these challenging situations, and who do you need to show up as in order to make that outcome happen, and take control of that. From the moment that you start interacting as who you want to be in any situation, you are interacting in that situation on your own terms, and you shift the power dynamic instantly. So you want to decide who you want to be. And I call this your horizon point. Your horizon point. And this is something that you can define for yourself, like, that brings the best of you, authentic of you, and is in combination with what the situation really needs from you in order to get an outcome. I want to just give you a couple of examples of what this like looks like. So just as an example, like, I have this a program I call it the Next Level Leader that helps mid-career people kind of get to the next level. And this is an example of Elizabeth, and she'd been passed over twice in 18 months for promotion, even though she was very capable and smart. And so she felt like the thermometer. Anyone can imagine this, right? Like, just talented, but overlooked. And so she goes through this process and she decides, like, I want to be heard. I want to be doing work that's more strategic. I want to be more influential. I want to be more confident. She goes through this process, and we kind of, gathered the essence of it and came up with an encapsulating phrase so she could remember it in the heat of the moment. And for her, it was strategic influencer. She's like, that's who I want to be. She starts to show up, not reactive in the moment, but intentional. And she starts to go into meetings saying, like, yeah, how can I be heard? Like, what are the people in this meeting? Like, how can I be intentional in the way that I say things? How can I use language that's congruent with who I want to be? Like, instead of just saying, here's the update, to say, my strategic recommendation is, right? She starts to show up embodied in this way as a strategic influencer. 3 months later, her manager calls her into her office and says, I've been noticing you've been much more strategic. You're making much more of an impact. You're much more confident. And this morning I put in for your promotion, even though it's 6 months off cycle. It's very powerful when you decide who you want to show up as, and you are intentional in that way. And if you are a thermometer with anyone in your life, and you want them to see you in a different way, you need to see yourself first in that way, so that they can see you in that way. Yes? So there's just another example of Horizon Point. This is a man who was on a startup team. He was head of engineering, and the CEO had a certain vision, which was different from his. You can imagine that that was making him feel like the thermometer. He didn't feel like he was gaining the trust of his team. In fact, his team didn't trust him. So he went through this process, and he came out like, I need to be a proactive communicator. And he built out and operationalized that. He was able to influence the CEO and get buy-in for his vision. He was able to get the best out of his team. He showed, like, he decided who he was going to show up as, and he was the thermostat, bringing everyone else along. Here's another just example of the power of this. This is someone who was a senior woman in a company, and they were going through a lot of change, changing their whole supply chain. And she was just reacting and like had a tone and was defensive and frustrated with everyone. And she decided, I want to be more rational. I want to be someone who's like other people come to and is like leading change. So her phrase for describing this was poised change agent. And she was like, that's exactly who I want to be. Like, I want to show up as a poised change agent. She learned all these tools in our coaching, and then she was the one who like brought everyone along. And the CEO even said, like, "Wow, like everyone's like you're really like leading this change. Like now it's happening," and actually put her in charge of change for the whole parent company. It's very noticeable when you stop being reactive and instead become intentional, and you define who you want to be. Now, this is an exercise that takes a half an hour, and we didn't have time for it today. So I put together this link, and you can just go and get the training. I'm going to come back to this link at the end, but just know that this is coming your way. Oh, and actually, I'm glad I put this slide in here. I did get a chance to present at the White House about 15 years later under a different administration, under Obama. And that came because I started going direct in my life, and I decided who I was going to be and the vision and the mission that I had, and I started showing up in that way. And when you go direct and when you show up in your power and shift the power dynamic around you, you are going to magnetize opportunities to you that are far beyond your imagination, simply because of who you are showing up as. So we're going to stop leaking our power. We're going to stop giving our power away. The next thing that you want to do is you want to start to reverse burnout. Is this relevant for anyone, or should I move to the next point? So a quick thing that I want to say here is that what's happening when you're the thermometer is that you are carrying kind of like who's getting bogged down, who comes home and vents to their spouse or dog or cat, right? Or family members, who like, you know, has someone in your life who you're the thermometer and like you're just carrying this like frustration and anger toward them. So we can't have that, because that is completely wearing you down, keeping you out of your power. And it's the fastest path to burnout. So what I really want you to know is that you got to clear those emotions out in order for you to be in your power, that they're going to bog you down. So, and another thing that I want you to really get about this is that one thing that causes and keeps you in burnout is that you might be a thermometer in a situation, and then usually what's going to happen is that you're going to try to solve the situation. You're going to try to make the person different. You're going to think you need to leave the situation or whatever it is. And it's helpful to problem solve. You want to work on the stressor. But what we rarely do is to know that when you're the thermometer, emotions and stress is getting activated in your nervous system, and it's just staying there all that hour, in the next hour, as you rehash it throughout the day and into the night, and all those stress hormones are just circulating through your body, wearing and tearing you down. That's why you're getting burned out. And so what you need to do to reverse burnout is that you need to move that stress through your system until that stress reaction is complete. You need to complete the stress cycle, move it through you. So if anybody's ever had the experience, like just a great, easy example is like if you have a good cry. Like, you know, at the end of a good cry, like you just totally feel like, oh, I'm like totally in a different place now, right? Like it's just an easy example of like before and after. But same thing for like a really vigorous workout, right? And so I want you all to find or develop a repertoire of things that you can do that move your emotion through and reconnect you with the thinking centers of your brain so that you can show up being impeccable for your 50%, going direct, and being the thermostat, right? So I want to give you an example of something that you could do really just in the heat of the moment. And Zoom folks, definitely want you to be trying this along with us. So one thing that you could do is that your emotions kind of live in this part of your body, like your trunk. And they're going to get stagnated if you're just like out of your power and just like in that emotional swirl over and over and over and over again, right? So we're not going to have that, because otherwise you're letting that other person win. No way. Who's like not carrying the stress of that other person's limitations in your body anymore? Yes? Okay, so one thing that you can do is that you can just dissolve the emotion that is like stuck within you, and you can do that. Have any of you ever been to a massage where they do the karate chop on you? So we can leverage this and we can karate chop away and dissolve that negative emotion. So what I want you to do, I want you to stand up, and we're just going to do this for a minute. But I want you to take that situation where you're the thermometer and you feel really frustrated, pissed off, or sad, or whatever the thing is. And I want you to chop it out. I want you to put it right there in front of you. And we're going to chop it out like this. Go. And it's going to be vigorous, vigorous, vigorous. Nothing like this. That's not going to get you anyway. Vigorous, vigorous, vigorous. And we're going to add 10 seconds for anyone who's doing a little wimpy over here. So we're going to go, 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 go. Put the person's face right there. Think of that situation. Get it out. Go, 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 go. Get in your power. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This be impeccable for your 50%. You can get yourself into a different state. So dissolve it, chop it up, put the person's face, think of the situation right there. Go, go, go. A little wimpy in the back. Go. Who's going to be the thermostat, not the thermometer? Go, 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 go. Keep it going. Who's sweating? Okay, good. Keep it going. 10 more seconds. Go. Give it all you got. Give it all you got. In the back, a little wimpy. We're going to add. Go, go, go. You don't have any. You're not the thermometer. Okay, good. You got nothing. You can stop now. Keep going. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Go. All the way to the end. Hard, hard, harder. Go. 3, 2, and 1. All right. How do you feel now? He feels different? How else do you feel? How do you feel now? Hold your hands like this. Who has power in their hands? So that was seriously like 30 seconds. That was like not even. I mean, when I'm really pissed off in a situation, I do that for 2 or 3 minutes, like, like really like, but at the end, I'm like, did you say something? Like, because I've gotten myself into a good place. So rather than go home, kick the dog, be in a bad mood or whatever, and bring that into your family members, no, like you can get yourself into a different state and you could be the one to be the thermostat. So you want to move your negative emotions through your body. You want to develop a repertoire. I gave a keynote address virtual for 750 women last week who were in the global development field. So they're trying to raise people out of poverty. And we did a rage dance break, 2 minutes, like rage dance. It was like fantastic, like this. And they were like loving it. They were like totally. So I had them like put together playlists for rage dance breaks. And I actually have playlists for you for all the different emotions. So I'll share that with you for anyone who's interested as part of the link that you're going to get at the end. Yeah. And we can do we can do like alumni dance breaks, get on Zoom together. Who's in? Yeah, okay, really good. So, and then the thing is that once you move it through your body and you are in a clear state and calm state, then you want to do pleasure research to fill yourself back up with good, with joy, with pleasure, with a state that connects you to the best of who you want to be. So this is never a question that you're asked. Has anyone ever been asked you this question? But this is part of being in your power, is to own your pleasure and own your power and own what makes you feel good and put things into place throughout your day. So do research. What makes me feel in a good feeling in my body? What feels nurturing? What feels calming to me? And do your pleasure research. The fourth way that we're going to get started being in your power is I want you to really own and not overlook the power that you already have. Because a lot of you, when you think about your thermometer situations, you're probably thinking, yeah, I don't have a lot of power in this situation. And it always begins there, but don't let it end there. Like, even as an example, I was coaching a woman named Kathy, who was the head of engineers in an engineering firm. And she saw that a lot of people were leaving, and so the culture wasn't supporting them. And she also had brought together like a women's network, or started to do so in her firm. And she was hearing that many of the women were the highest revenue producers, but weren't getting paid proportionally. So she went to the two owners of the firm, and she said, we need to make some changes, in our culture. And how do you think she was responded to? She got a, it wasn't quite a pat on the head, but it was it was kind of felt that way maybe to her. She reacted, she took it personally. She second guessed whether she really should have this vision, whether she could even, expect whether she could she should continue to bring her value to this firm or not. But she didn't get buy-in. She got a postponement. She didn't get a lot of interest from the owners. Why should they, right? Things were status quo for them. So she didn't think that she had a lot of power, but actually she had a lot of power in the situation. She had relationship power. So she started to bring together the other managing partners, and they started to talk together about how do we want the culture to be. They started to put in place some changes. And she had persuasion power. So she actually started to influence and really understood like what was in it for the owners and what was really going to motivate them. She started to kind of put together a whole kind of influencing plan, started to include the board. And 3 months later, the owners of the firm agreed to reduce their ownership in the firm by 30% so that they could distribute and share in the wealth with the women who were the highest revenue producers. So she started off thinking that she had no power at all. But when we really started to do a power inventory, and we really started to think about like what's our question? Where's my power, right? And we really started to analyze that, she had so much more power than she thought, and she had the power to unlock the energies of the owners. But that's a pretty inspiring story, yes. But don't let that overwhelm you. Let that inspire you. Like, where's your power in your life? Where are you feeling like you have no power? But if we just like dust it off a little bit and we just started to do a power inventory and we just started to see how could you unlock the energy of important people in your life? How could you start showing up as the thermostat? Well, actually, you have more power than you think. That is the takeaway message. And the final point, I want to just say actually that I want you to own this idea of your power and have it go beyond your job description. There's so much more that you can do than not just your job description, but that you can imbue your job description with. Like even all the ways that you are a sponsor or an ally or a friend or a good interaction and relationship partner or idea generator, these are all beyond your job description, but they give you so much more power than you think. And then the final thing that I want to say is, I want you from this moment forward, for the situations where you feel like a thermometer, I want you instead to really own the opportunity to be the thermostat. And I want you to think of yourself as like, be the steward of the situation. Be the one who understands what's going on in the context. Be the one who's not like Keisha, remember, she could have just reacted and taken things personally and just been like, you're doing this to me and it's overwhelming and I'm out of here, or, we need to talk about this, or I'm going to take a mental health day. Like she could have been the continued to be the thermometer. But she became more of the steward of the situation. Like she understood the underlying problem. She understood the context and like what was going on for all the people, all the players in the situation. Like she had more of a three-dimensional perspective. And she thought for the whole and how we could make this better for everyone. And then she brought everyone along to like a holistic solution, and it made it better for everyone. And you can do this in your work life. You can do this in your personal life. Like I was just talking to a friend yesterday. I was in the Cancun airport yesterday morning and on my way home so I could be with you. And this is a friend of mine who's in a relatively recently new relationship. The person who she's dating, there's a lot of love there. And but this man is very, very successful and can be kind of controlling and be kind of critical to her. And so when it started to happen, like each time it would happen, she would get defensive. And she would react and she'd be like, but this, and she'd try to defend herself. I mean, anybody been there? You know what I mean? And what I want to encourage you for these situations that seem intractable for you in your life is instead of each time it happens, instead of each time you get an email from your manager or your business partner or someone on your team, and each time it's like, oh, again, like they're not listening or I can't get what I need from them. Instead, like that's just being the thermometer. Don't see it as an isolated incident, but instead be the steward. Like really have an understanding of what's going on. Like understand the patterns, understand the underlying issues. So now she's decided, my friend, who she wants to show up as in the situation. She's in her power. She has that sense of sovereignty. Like, I know who I am. You know what I mean? And so when he acts in this way, it enables her to be much more objective, to stay good in her. And now she can say like, hey, I think we're in this pattern again. You know what I mean? I think this is kind of what goes on for you. And then this is what goes on for me. And like, how can we love each other in this situation? Like, can you see how the energy of that is so different? Can you see how she is the steward of the whole relationship, bringing both of them along into a better interaction? And you have that power. You have the power to be the steward. You have the power to shift from being the thermometer to being the thermostat. When you are in your power, you shift the power dynamic. You have so much more power than you think. And that's really what I wanted you to take from today, is that when you are in your power, you raise everyone around you. Thank you. So I want you to go to this link, and we have Wi-Fi in here, and just make sure that you can get the trainings on how you can decide your horizon point, show up with intention. And it's also a way for us to stay connected. So if you want some of the other resources, like those playlists for the dance breaks, or the other resources, I have an assessment about how much you're in your power. And this will lead you to a link where you can purchase the book, In Your Power. This book is the answer to Where's My Power? It's based on the idea of 12 power portals, 12 different ways of looking at any situation that you're in that give you a whole new view and a whole new skill set and a whole new way of being in your power so that you can raise everyone around you. And I'll take questions for a few minutes. Fantastic. Yes.
So first of all, thank you very much. I think it's a really interesting concept, because typically you think about, okay, finding yourself and who you are, but instead, you have a choice. And my question is, if you're in the moment, let's say you're doing a pitch and you start to leak out your power, how do you plug those holes before the floodgates open? What tool do you actually have in the moment if you can't karate chop, in front of an investor?
Yeah, there are so many. But I think that idea of like, who do you want to show up as? And you walk in the room as her, you walk in the room as him. And then that creates, that sets the tone, right? And not walking in as the thermometer already half defeated, that like, they're not gonna, you know what I mean? Even though we know the statistics are that, but you know what I mean? But like, you can create the weather in your own mind, and you can create that future in your own mind. You can walk in with that vision of it already happening. And in fact, for the women entrepreneurs in the crowd, we know that there is a known gender bias, the prove it again bias, where men tend to be evaluated as in the collective unconscious for their future potential. Women tend to be evaluated based on their current and past accomplishments. So for any woman who is talented and wants to advance, know that it's possible or even likely that when you're in those advancement discussions or hiring discussions, that you're going to be evaluated based on your past and current accomplishments. So you might be pigeonholed into what it is that you're doing now. And so if what this research shows that if a man and a woman are going for a similar role with similar experiences, neither of whom have experience at the next level, that what will be said about the man is, oh, put him in the role, he'll figure it out based on his future potential. What will be said about the woman is, let's put her in a lateral role for 2 years, let's have her like get some more experience, and then we'll see where she's at. I see the eye rolls, you might have been there, but there's ways, and there's a great TED Talk and research that shows that this is the case as well with women entrepreneurs, that when women entrepreneurs give pitches in comparison to men, they actually did a content analysis of men and women entrepreneurs pitching. And what they found is that the questions that were asked to men were all based on like the upside future of the company, and more of the questions were aimed at women about like protecting the downside, or how you're going to deal with the current problems. So you can quickly answer the question with a concise and powerful, knowledgeable response, and then you could immediately pivot to focusing on the future and create a mental movie in the mind of your decision makers where you are successful, where you are running the company, you are making money, or you are in that next level, you are starting the role, you are already getting results, and create a mental movie in the mind of your decision makers or your investors. And already that's going to start to shift, you know, the energy where you're focusing on the future and how you're going to be successful with their funding, and you're not on your heels trying to, you know what I mean, being focused on your current and past accomplishments. So that can help.
Follow up on that. Is that what you meant when you also said you want to, you need to move the stress through the cycle, you said?
Yeah, so that's relevant for all of us. Anytime we're the thermometer, we're going to be like, that's what it means to be out of your power, right? To be in that emotional and mental swirl, and to feel the frustration of not being able to control the situation. So what I'm saying is that if you don't do anything to clear the negative emotion from your system, then those stress hormones are going to be roiling through your body. Then you're going to be in that emotional state. And when you're in that emotional state, then let me let you in on a little like what's going on in your brain is that your emotional centers are running the show and are literally cut off. Like your rational thinking centers are like, they're not operational at that moment. And I'm very pro emotion. So we could talk a lot about like how you can leverage your emotion, but I'm just saying, but for, you know, who's at their best when you're in that like emotionally like blaming state or like feeling powerless? Like not me, I don't know about you, but definitely I'm not thinking straight in those moments. And I'm not showing up intentional or as my best self. So I'm saying, do a quick something. You know what I mean? And all of us should have a repertoire of things that we do. For me, I have a boxing bag in my gym and I go and beat the crap out of that thing until my arms feel like they're falling off. But then I'm like, yes, bring it on. Like now I can think straight. I'm connected to much more innovative ideas. I'm much more objective about why the person did what they did or is why the situation is going on. I have much more access, you know, to ideas about how to be the thermostat and to raise everyone in the situation. So I'm a vigorous exerciser, but it could be that, but it could be Zumba, it could be chopping wood, it could be throwing pillows, it just has to be something that you all have to develop a repertoire. It could be chopping, it could be rage dance breaks are fantastic, but it has to be something, or it could be, I also have a whole like suite of breathing techniques and energy techniques. Pick up the book, and they're in there. And I have a program, a coaching program that teaches, you know, kind of how to be in your power, coaches you through those situations. So I'm just saying, like, just find something that is reliable, or a repertoire, even better, of things that you can do so that you can quickly, there's things that you can do even in 1 to 3 minutes and just get yourself into a different place. And then you'll see so much more variety and innovation in the ways that you can handle the situation. And now you've taken the pledge, right? So you're not going to just react. You're not going to let someone get your goat. And the reason that we react in situations is because we come into the situation with kindling inside of us that is hard won from our lives. You know what I mean? Our own experiences, the messages that we've had, the ways that we've coped and internalized messages. And so we bring kindling into situations. And then when other people seemingly dismiss us or question us or block us or any of the things that might be going on in our personal lives or overlook us or are selfish toward us, that other person's behavior is like a match, you know what I mean? That alights the kindling inside of us. And that's the personal hook that kicks us out of our power, puts us into that emotional state. So we always have the ability to be impeccable. For our 50% means to know what that kindling is, to have ways of being more thoughtful and more reflective and learning to grow past whatever that kindling was. And when you have that, like, you're unstoppable, because then other people in their lives or in our political system or in our legal system, they can be wherever they are on their journey and on their evolution and whatever ability of management level that they have, and no matter where they are, you can stay good in you, and you can always show up as the thermostat, and you can be the steward that can lead yourself and others out of that situation into a better solution where it's more about the priorities, it's more aligned, it's more like really good, open, transparent communication, it's with confidence, it's with intention. And every single one of you, you have that power. You have more power than you think you do. And when you're in your power, say it along with me, you raise everyone around you. Fantastic. So definitely go to SharonMelnick.com/MIT so that you can get your trainings, you can get your resources, so that we can stay in touch. So do that now. And I think then we're going to break. I have a few books here. I only have 9 or 10 with me. And the rest of you, when you go to that link, as soon as you go there, there'll be a link to purchase the book on Amazon for yourself. And you might want to be thinking about the other people in your life that you want to empower. And this makes a perfect gift. I want to have a huge thanks to Jag Gill, whose this whole opportunity began as just an idea in her mind. You have more power than you think you made. You've touched all these people's lives. I thank you. So I'm really excited to stay connected. Definitely go and click on this link now. For a few of you, I'll be able to sign your books, and come and talk to me at the break. Thank you again to Fox Rothschild and to MIT. Yes.
Thank you to everyone who's on Zoom. The event is ending now. Everyone here, there's refreshments, wine, drinks in this direction when you step out. And again, thank you to everyone from Fox Rothschild and everyone who helped make the event possible. Thanks, everyone.